With this, I can click the status and see in first, out first, whichever way I want to do that. Same with the hours to overtime, smallest to largest, largest to smallest, and this in here. So if I wanted to search for somebody specifically, I can begin typing their name, and as I type, those with what I'm typing will show up on my list. There we go. I clear that out, and that brings this back here. So my missing punches, clicking here brings up the missing punches, who's not in, my pending time off requests, and of course the scheduled absences. Down below, if you are using schedules, we've got a scheduled versus actual hours. This is going to show you how many hours you've got scheduled during this week and how much was actually worked. It'll display in a trending fashion and will show you your areas of high labor usage and low labor usage according to what you had scheduled for those particular weeks. Any questions at all on the dashboard features? If you have a question or want clarification, don't be afraid just to shout out and we'll stop and I'll let you know. So from here, the typical administrator, supervisor, they're going to want to take care of their missing punches. So they can click here. I see these here. I can click on somebody's name here or just as easily go up to my time management. Time management is where 90% of the time is going to be spent in the time and attendance application. So I'm going to click on Benny's name right here, and it's going to bring me to my time management. In my time management are my exceptions, PTO requests, and my timesheet. Because I clicked on Benny's name, he is pre-selected in the timesheet, and if I needed to add a single new punch from my exceptions, I could click Add New Punch, and Benny would be pre-selected for me. If I simply come up here to Edits and Time Management, then the top of the list is here. Of course, I could click on this and just type in Benny's name, and that would bring him up. So it's not a big deal, but clicking on the name on the dashboard does have less clicks for you to help speed things up, if you will. Right here in my exceptions, I see the exceptions for everybody. Excuse me. I'm the administrator logged in, so I do see all the people that have missing punches. If we have things like fingerprint readers, hand readers, face readers, biometric type stuff, it's possible for them to be enrolled to the clock but not placed into the software yet. And I can do a quick check on that as an admin by clicking Unknown IDs. Immediately I see I've got several here that have clocked in, but they're not associated with any employee. This gives me their number that I can go and research, and then once I add them into the HR side, they'll go through here, and any punches associated will automatically go to their time card. This is just kind of a fail-safe before I do payroll. In a busy company, did I miss anybody? If while I'm here I need to take a quick look and see who all's punched in so far, I can click on punches within punch threshold. Michelle's the only one that's punched in the last 16 hours. That way I don't have to go back and forth to the dashboard if I have questions on anything. With the missing punches, they're very easy to take care of. We've got one here for Michael Miller. I just pick him out at random. To fix this punch, I see he's got an in punch for the 18th at 7:22. There is no out punch. What we see in the start location, this is a serial number of a clock, and this is a serial number of a clock. So this is the clock they use to clock in and out with. I've got serial number here because I was a little lazy to put a name in, but we can add names to the clocks, and that name, the friendly name, would show up in here. So if you've got 10, 15 clocks and you're wanting to know where they're clocking in and out from, we can put the friendly name to the clock and it'll show you exactly where they clock in and out from. I don't know who I was looking at here, Michael, I think. So I'm just going to click anywhere over here, and it's going to bring his punch into edit mode. If he had more than one missing punch, it would show me those, which are helpful. If he's got 3 or 4 missing punches on the 18th, maybe he clocked out when he came in. He clocked in from lunch when he was supposed to clock out. He clocked in when he left. You would see all those in here and be able to make sense and see what he did and better correct the punches from there. Down here, I can see a glance at his time card and what he's worked for this particular week that this punch is in. And he's been out, he's been absent all week. To fix his punch, I can just click here and choose a time. I can add one in, 5:34 p.m. I click outside that box, and it puts it in. It adds the date. The same date is here, so I don't have to turn around and put a date in unless he didn't clock out to the 19th. If you prefer using military time, you can also add that in right here. You just click outside and you see it converts it right to the AM, PM. So whatever you're most comfortable with when you're entering time is what you can do. The notes, forgot to clock out. There's no start and end location, but that's because I added this punch manually for this employee. So I'm just going to click save right here. He disappears from here, and the punch is going to go to his time card. This is the 25th through the 1st. The punch we were working on was the 18th. So I click here for the 18th, and I can see his punch here. I can see the note that was applied to it. Because he was on a schedule and I'm utilizing the exceptions, I can see that he came in early and clocked out late. He's been absent the rest of this time. If I wanted to add another punch, maybe for the 19th, I could edit this one, choose in and out transaction, his start time, and end time, or I could click here to choose 5 p.m., however I wanted to do that. This is his automatic lunch according to a schedule that he takes. I'm sorry, it's not an automatic, but his schedule dictates that he has a 30-minute lunch. So it inserts this here because we're just editing that absent. We could leave a note and then save. Now, if you're not using schedules, that's fine. You won't see the absence. You can just come up and add new transaction. We want an in and an out. And we'll do 6:25. And we'll get him out at 7:30. Just a short day. If we leave this blank and you've got auto lunch set up, it'll apply the auto lunch based on how many hours they've worked here and the rule on the auto lunch. Of course, we can override any attendance tardies by choosing this and leave our note. If he was working in a different department during this day, I could add this here. I'm just going to give him a later clock out and then save. Now, if you've got clients that need to do the job costing and they have to go in and add department changes for their employees and things like that to make things, the job costing do what they want, it's very easy for a supervisor to do it here if they're not having the employees do it at the clock. I can click on assign and redistribute. I see the total day is 9.75 hours, and that's all attributed to these. So maybe he worked 2 hours, and I just put the number 2. You see I wiped over the 9.75. I'm going to click, and when I do, the remainder of that 9.75 will be in this line like this. So he worked 2 hours, and let's just say he worked 2 hours in admin. For here, what has he got? In the north location, and we're going to do 2 hours in the south location as a driver for Dell Outlet Flooring, and then his home defaults for the rest of the day. So I come over here and click save. That splits up his transactions into 3 lines. giving the different departments and the different amounts of time for them. So quick, easy to come in and do that for the employees if there's still companies that need to do that. It's 20th. Unpaid time. I've got absence and leave without pay here, but we can add whatever categories you want, doctor's appointment, scheduled, whatever you want for unpaid time, we can add that in and you can track it. A bulk transaction is just an X amount of hours on a specific date and time. Could be giving them 2 hours because they stopped by Office Depot on their way home to pick up supplies. We can also add different things under the bulk time, different units of time, training, team building, whatever categories you want to be able to assign a bulk number of hours to. Awards, these are things like bonus, tip, commission, dollar amounts that can be added in. So if we go here, let's do on the 19th. And we'll save. That shows up in purple. Looking at the time card now, I can see I've got a couple of different things going on. I've got work, I've got a monetary amount, and I've got unpaid time here. Coming here, we can also give people specific amounts of overtime. So maybe I need to give the person here, he was out sick on the 21st. I'm going to put in the time he's normally supposed to be in and the number of hours out sick. And save that. Now I can see a different color down here. So at a glance, I can see what's going on with this time card in case I forgot something or if I'm looking for specific things. It makes it a lot easier. My approvals, if I click here, I can see the approvals that need to be done here. For a supervisor, they would just simply sign off, click OK, but pay attention to the time card status. Once I click OK, that now puts this at blocked. So nobody can come in here and edit anything successfully without getting this. So once it's approved, it's a done deal unless the administrator goes in and reverts it. Maybe they forgot to put something in here. So the administrator could come in and they've got the ability to revert. So I click on this and click OK. The time card is now switched to open. Whatever needs to be added, modified, or deleted can be done so at that time. Then the supervisor would go back in and sign off on it. Now that might be a bit tedious to do that for a bunch of people in the system. So in our edits and approvals, we've made it easier where it's listed everybody, their regular hours, their overtime, paid time away, and so forth. Over the columns, I can see that nobody has been approved. Everything here is pending for this excuse me, pay period. If I go back one pay period here, just to show you an example, I can see spots where things have been approved. Michelle approved her time card, the supervisor approved John's, and the administrator approved Bob's. Does the administrator have to approve time? No. Not if a supervisor is doing it. Someone has to approve the time, be it an administrator or a supervisor or the employees, however your company goes. Once the time has been approved, it can then be pushed up to payroll with the click of a button. So no creating a CSV file, no going to payroll, no doing the import and whatnot. Once everybody's approved, we can just come over here and push the transactions, all the time card for a specific pay period up to payroll. Now, I can do approvals en masse. If I just click here, everybody's good, or maybe I don't want to do this person, and then I could select sign off. That would sign off all these people for whoever I'm logged in as, which is currently administrator. So this makes it much easier. If I've got a question on somebody, 4 hours just doesn't seem right. From here, I can click on her name, and that's going to bring me right to her time card. So I can see right here what's going on, and she's got some missing punches. I can fix those. She signed her time card off. So as an administrator, I didn't give myself the ability to undo her time. Normally, I can go in as administrator and revert hers. I just didn't set them up for that because I really didn't set this up for being employee approvals. But I would be able to go in and revert it, fix whatever it is in here, and then back and do my approvals from here. So, if I can revert, yeah, I'm not able to on the employees. So that's our approvals in here. And as an administrator, I could go to the supervisor ones and see who's got that, choose a specific supervisor to see what employees they have and who they haven't released if you want, by department, by manager, by jobs, etc. So quite a nice little approval section in there. Easy, clean cut, not overly complicated, which is what I like. Back with the time management here. So we can see the missing punches here, and had she not already approved her time card, I would be able to click here and fix that. That's the 20th. That's not going to let me once I try to save it. So we'll go to exceptions, and I'll look for somebody else. Tommy. We can click on Tommy's name right here, and clicking on their name from your exceptions will bring you up to their timesheet. I can see here it's Tommy Madala. I click right here on timeout. We're going to give them an 1800, 6 p.m. and save. We'll go back to that time card. And I didn't even pay attention. Oh, here it is. It was the 13th. So there his punch is. It's got it in. It's attached to the clock in. Everything's good. We go back to my exceptions. Look over here for John. I'm just going to click here. This is the 18th. So he clocked out for lunch, clocked out, clocked in. He's got a lot of stuff going on there I don't want to bore you with. 18. Michelle clocked in at 4 a.m. on the 18th, and she clocked in again at 9:47. This was probably the clock out. If that's the case, I can switch it to clock out, and then this will match up with this one. I just click save. It's gone from here, both of those, and I just continue on. The PTO requests, if you're using this, and when I say the employee request time off, there's an employee portal here that the employees could use. And let's pick on, I think, Michelle Adams here. Yep. So this is a full-on employee portal. In other words, everything is selected for the employee to be able to use. We can create multiple profiles, and maybe some employees we don't want to have the start or end or any of these buttons. So we could take those away, assign our production employees to that profile, and all they would have is this. You know, they'd be able to see the time, the date that they're logged in, any note that was over here, but they would just be able to go through and look at what we've given them rights to here. We don't have to give them the PTO request, balance schedule, any of this. We can pick and choose what we want particular types of employees to be able to do. I can look at my PTO bank balances. I can look at what I've got in my schedule. I can request time off, or I can come up here and see what's still pending, what's been approved, or if anything has been denied. I can then request additional time off through here if I wanted to. Lets me know what's in my bank. I can choose specific banks, the date, how many hours, and things like that. Viewing the timesheets, I can come in here and see what I've worked. I can go back prior pay periods and see all this. I see my totals down below. I can click on print timesheet to get a exacting detailed list of everything that went on. I can print this out. I can choose to save it to my desktop as a PDF. This is a prior pay period. I could click here to electronically approve it. This statement block right here is whatever you want it to be. This can be changed per company and per policy. So if you've got like a school and they've got different workers that require different attestations to be signed for on their time card, you can create multiple policies and different terms and conditions on there for each policy. Once they click accept, it electronically approves their time card, and the green A would show up as you've seen in the other screen. So once they've requested time off, it's going to show up here in the supervisor or admin's dashboard, or not dashboard, but PTO requests. I can see the ones that are white. These are ones that are current or prior. The ones that are green are future. Maybe I'm looking to see if I can give Alice July 12th off. She wants all day. It's vacation. The bank allows a negative balance in case they don't have enough. She currently wants 8 hours being deducted. She has 40, and this was the date and time she requested this time off. So if I've got two people requesting the same date off, this will let me know who requested it first, and I can be fair if I want to and give the person that requested it off first. I can see the note from the employee, and then I can approve it or deny it from right here. But if I've got a question, did I give anybody else the 12th of July off? I can click on my View PTOs and Calendar. I can see who's off in June. I can switch to July and click Show PTO, and nobody's off right now. So I could go ahead and approve leave a little note in my initials, and that comes down here under my resolved. If you've got the employee set up with an email address in the system and set to receive email notifications, it would send an email to her letting her know that she's been approved. In the same way that when an employee requests time off, it can send an email to the supervisor letting them know, hey, you've got somebody requesting time off. So these are the main areas in the application here. We've got quite a few different reports. And you'll notice over here I've got a saved one under customized. And what that is, when I click right here on the base detailed timesheets, it's going to bring up the options that I want to run that report under. Do I want a page break? Do I want to show PTO totals? Do I want to break it down by department? So, all these different things. I don't want to have to come in here and click these every time I want to run the same report. So in my reports, I could save this, name it, and then when I go to run that report, I can come over here and click on it, and it's going to pop up with with everything already selected. I just choose my pay period or my date range, and I run my report. We can see everything going on here. I've got a signature line for this particular report and an attestation block in here. This can be customized and placed in the company's setup so that it comes out whenever they do the time cards, or we can just take it away altogether. Lots of other different reports, audit reports, auditing PTO banks, things like that in the reports. We're able to accrue PTO with the software, things like sick, vacation, PTO, personal, whatever you want to call it. We're able to set that up in here. We're able to accrue based on uh, X amount of vacation per each hour worked, or X amount of sick hours. Like the Arizona law, I could do 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. We can do X amount per pay period, X amount per month, and X amount per year. Um, we can start their accrual from their hire date, but not start the benefit until a different date that was input. We can create, you see I've got personal sick vacation. I can create whatever category I want. We can select bereavement and maybe make this something that even though we're not going to accrue, we can give a maximum of 24 hours and set the employee up with 24 hours and allow this to go to the employee so that when they go to request PTO, this becomes one of their options. We can create multiple plans here. For this one here, they're not doing any accruals, and they may just enter in specific amount of sick time for the employee. But we could create another one maybe for executives who do accrue time. Or maybe they accrue time as employees at a different rate here than what they do as executives or administrators. So we could create multiple policies based on the different accrual rates for each type of employee. So it's very accommodating as far as that goes. Closing pay periods. When I'm done with payroll, I come in here and close these up. And they should be closed a little bit closer than what they are right here. Once they're closed, nothing can be edited or changed, and you can't reopen them. So closing them makes them a done deal. For people that need to close off the payroll so nobody changes it behind them after they submitted, that's a good way to do here. The other way is to do the approvals and approve everything, and that way they can't go behind you and change anything on that either. So kind of up to what the people feel like, but these are to be kept closed up as much as possible. Usually I recommend only a couple being open. The more you have open, the longer it takes to calculate or process somebody's punch that you've added in, because it's got to go all the way back to April and recalculate everything forward. So we recommend keeping this fairly closed up. The push transactions here. Once I've got a pay period that's done and the employees have been approved, then I can click the push to ExecuPay and the hours go across to ExecuPay. I say ExecuPay, but to your payroll software. The hours would fill in for the employees, and then you could go ahead and process your payroll. Oh, what did I do? I clicked on something wrong. To get back to the dashboard, we would just click here. I'm just looking through some different things here. There are some automated reports that can be run, and we add more as we go along. But we've got the basics right now: approaching overtime, default timesheet, detailed, and employee time summary, and shift differentials. These can be set up to be emailed at specific times and to specific people. Any questions at all? Well, that covers the training portion of this. If you do have any further questions or need to get deeper on any rules or different configurations, of course, feel free to reach out and we'll be more than happy to help. With that, I'll go ahead and close down the meeting, and I thank you all for joining me.